This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, there's tension on the Otago Peninsula as residents are divided about speed limits on the roads. Channel-based Takahe are doing their bit to restore the species with 2 new babies in the colony. And the numbers are adding up for budding mathematicians in Queenstown. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. Otago Peninsula residents are divided on whether speed limits on the road should be lowered. Many people addressed speed limits bylaw hearings at the Dunedin City Council this week.
It seems a question of horsepower is creating conflict on the Otago Peninsula. Pukehiki resident Lynn Samuels says many roads in the area are multi-use, with walkers and horse riders like herself, and the current vehicle speed limits are too high.
This is a rural area. We have rural activities. I go horse riding, there's dog walkers, there's people on bikes, there's people walking, and we have no footpaths.
There is support for speed limits to be reduced at Pukehiki, but many people are opposed to reductions around the rest of Otago Peninsula. Larnac Castle Director and Camp Road resident Norcom Barker opposes lowering the limit in rural areas from 80 kilometres an hour to 60, labelling the idea unrealistic and impractical. However, Samuels believes visibility is often an issue.
At the higher speeds, a lot of brine bends, so if they're overtaking something going slower, if they go across the median line, they can't see what's coming around the bends. It's often you can't see very well up here because of the fog and the mist.
A range of opinions have been expressed on the Council's proposal to reduce speed limits, including dropping the speed limit from 80 to 60 kilometres an hour on high-risk rural roads and enacting a 40 kilometre an hour limit through Otago Peninsula townships. Samuels says there's been a considerable amount of community consultation.
We've had community workshops, we've had community meetings, we've met up the community board on several occasions, and Paul Pope today at the meeting actually put forward what we've been asking for up here, and as he pointed out, he's been on the board for 9 years and Pukehiki is always on about speeds.
His thoughts are echoed by Otago Peninsula Community Board Chairman Paul Pope, who says the board surveyed 450 residents and says the majority did not want to see speed limits on the peninsula reduced. Some submitters say lowering speed limits will increase frustration among motorists and may make some roads more dangerous. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Embattled Dunedin City Councillor Lee Vandervis is refusing to apologise for intimidating conduct. Instead, he's chosen to walk away from 2 of his roles as a city councillor. On Tuesday, councillors decided that Vandervis had breached the code of conduct by shouting at, standing over and pointing his finger in the face of Deputy Mayor Christine Geary in July. Vandervis announced last night he's resigning from serving on the Otago Museum Trust Board and Dunedin's District Licensing Committee. Vandervis had faced being stripped of those roles if he did not deliver the apology required of him by the Dunedin City Council. 2 newly hatched Takahe chicks in a Tiano sanctuary are set to help bolster the species population. The Department of Conservation says there are 2 pairs of the endangered birds at the sanctuary, 1 pair with 2-week-old foster chicks.
Takahe nearly went the same way as the moa in the 1990s. There are still fewer than 500 alive, but the number of birds has just increased by 2.
One pair has currently got 2 little foster chicks, just around 10 days old. Very cute, really hard to see because they are really good parents and they're very secretive with their little chicks, which is good because it keeps them safe.
Department of Conservation Tiano Bird Sanctuary Ranger Kerry Klein says the second pair has just gone down to nest and rangers are hoping to get them to foster an egg as well so they can raise a chick for themselves. Once grown, the chicks are typically transported to the bird Takahe Centre.
And they have a little Takahe boot camp, so they learn what to feed on and basically how to be a Takahe in a natural environment. And then they may be transferred out to the wild, or they'll sort out what the best thing is for that chick.
It's thought there are 445 Takahe living in New Zealand. And Department of Conservation Takahe Sanctuary Sites Manager Phil Marsh says the Takahe recovery team is working to build up the population.
So on an annual basis we attempt to build the population up further. Our main aim ultimately is to produce enough birds in captive environments to be able to release back into wild populations.
In the wild, Takahe face many challenges, including predation, drowning and falling from heights, such as cliffs. Marsh says they've been lucky, with about 80% of Takahe eggs being fertile this season.
Every year we hope to go up, but our ultimate aim is to end up with as many birds as possible in self-sustaining populations out in the wild.
Takahe are culturally significant to Kaitahu, who have close involvement with the recovery of the species. Phil Marsh says it's important to protect the species so they're not lost forever. In Siano, the South Today.
Whitebaiters may be banned from some West Coast rivers if a Department of Conservation proposal is accepted by the incoming government minister. Establishing refuge rivers is one of the proposals expected to be put forward by DOC next week. About a dozen possible refuges are listed for the south, including the Haast River. When a river becomes a refuge, whitebait fishing would be excluded in 2-year cycles on some and possibly more than 10 years on others. The proposed move is to protect the adults of whitebait species. Other proposals include a limit on how far upstream whitebait can be caught on some rivers and banning of the export of whitebait. 8 pupils from Aerotown Primary School qualified for the national finals of the University of Otago Problem Solving Challenge held today. The teacher says recognition of their achievements goes a long way in motivating the budding mathematicians.
Aerotown Primary School pupils are doing well academically, with 8 youngsters having qualified for the University of Otago Problem Solving Challenge national finals that are being held today. Teacher Kelly Scholes says a little bit of praise and acknowledgement of the pupils' abilities encourages them to excel.
The beauty about my job, I get to work with these really motivated students that, really love mathematics. It's, something that not all children will love, but, these particular kids, because they get a lot of sort of reward from doing it and achieving it, they always come in fully motivated.
And she says giving them real-life mathematical challenges can help improve a child's academic development.
What it does is it puts maths into a real-world context rather than just being isolated, learn these equations or learn these rules. You actually have to apply those rules and formulas to real life, and I think that's invaluable. Something that the New Zealand curriculum does really well, but that we're constantly trying to make better as teachers.
Year 8 pupil Isabel Marnie also entered the University of Canterbury national examination and received a distinction for her English paper, which covered comprehension, writing and spelling.
I was very shocked, but I was really happy because I love English and it's one of my favourite subjects. So.
The results of the University of Otago Problem Solving Challenge national finals won't be announced for several weeks. In Aerotown, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, Lawrence is set to put on its annual Heritage Day celebrations on Sunday, and we hear about a regeneration project in Kaiapoi.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. And check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Welcome back. The township of Lawrence is putting on its annual Heritage Day celebrations on Sunday. One of the popular attractions is the local vintage club opening its museum to the public with some new lifelike displays this year.
One person's junk is obviously another person's treasure if you visit the Tuapeka Vintage Museum in Lawrence this coming weekend. Club member Jerry Packwood says they seem to have no end of donated items to rekindle memories of how things used to be in rural New Zealand 40 or even 80 years ago.
Well, we just collect all the bits and pieces that are donated by the farmers, and we've got no room to put them in their garage sort of thing. We end up with them, which is excellent though.
This coming Sunday is Lawrence Heritage Day, and a new addition to the popular exhibits includes a lifelike recreation of a World War II radio operator with his field radio, similar to ones used 80 years ago.
He's a wireless operator in the Second World War, and he would be in headquarters or on a truck talking to the men out in the field or on the front line, and they can talk to them audibly or by Morse code or by signal, so long as the range is not interrupted too much. It's built in 1940, so it's pretty old, you know, and it doesn't like too many obstructions.
The operator was originally dressed in a British Army officer's shirt, but this has now been swapped for something a New Zealand radio operator would have worn during the military campaigns against German and Italian troops in the 1940s.
They had a tunic there, the light blouse affair, and it was a full sergeant's, the 3 stripes and everything. And I told them, I said, no, you don't get a sergeant operating the radio, you know. And then somebody came up with a Kiwi uniform, and they all ripped off that British uniform and put on this one. It's much more fitting, you know, it's a Kiwi.
Heritage Day in Lawrence will include a dragon walk just after 1 p.m, plus demonstrations of scone making, sheep shearing, wood chopping and horseshoeing. In Lawrence, the South Today.
A walking tour gave people the opportunity to learn more about Kaiapoi's regeneration projects last Saturday. About 100 hectares of red zone land is now a food forest with permaculture gardening.
It was hot and sunny last Saturday when a group took part in the Kaiapoi River Wellbeing Walk, with Waimakariri Mayor Dan Gordon pointing out how valuable the river has become for recreational activities.
I think one of the real assets that's come about has been the Marine Precinct along here, which has brought about the Port and Eagle, the Marina Council spent about $1 million dredging through the river here so that there's a channel for boats to come along so that there can be that activity. It's one of the real jewels in our crown, I think, is the river and making the most of it, hence what this walk's about today, which is celebrating the river and seeing its natural beauty.
The walk also took in some of the 100 hectares of former red-zoned residential land, now turned into food forest, with an emphasis on not digging to avoid releasing greenhouse gases.
We are a don't dig, we don't spray here. If you dig and start opening up the ground, you release the carbon. So we feed the ground from top down. We started off with the first layers of lots and lots of cardboard first, and then we covered it with mulch, and we just keep covering all the areas up with mulch.
The food forest also features permaculture, which involves having an area covered with trees and plants of different heights.
You might have an apple tree, then you might have your citrus, and then your berries like raspberries and blackberries, right down to your small plants like your celery and your planting, your vegetables and all that sort of thing.
The food forest has become a place for families to enjoy a picnic, as well as learning about permaculture gardening. In Kaiapoi, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, Forsyth Bar signs up for naming rights for Dunedin Stadium for another 10 years, and we check out tomorrow's weather.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hi, Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back in George Street on the corner of Hanover Street. Come and check out our big store. It's a big space full of bargains. Now look at these shirts. There's shirts for everybody here. Look at these merino pullovers, stacks of moleskins, literally tons of trousers. Check out these big racks of sports jackets. Beautiful.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So come and check out Alex Campbell Menswear. We're back on George Street in the old ANZ building.
Step into Shop on Carrot and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh, plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Welcome back. Dunedin Stadium will continue to be named after Forsyth Bar after the investment firm signed up for naming rights for another 10 years. Over the past 10 years, the venue has hosted sports matches, rock concerts and public events. The venue will retain its name for the next decade after the local investment firm Forsyth Bar agreed to pay an undisclosed amount for another 10 years. It's thought the amount will be more than what was paid for the past 10, believed to be $5 million. Every November for the past 4 years, the venue has been the site of the popular Otago Daily Times sponsored Home and Living show. However, this year's show was cancelled due to disruptions from COVID-19. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. There's tension on the Otago Peninsula as residents are divided about speed limits on the roads. Te Anau-based Takahe are doing their bit to restore the species with 2 new babies in the colony. And the numbers are adding up for budding mathematicians in Queenstown, with some youngsters set to represent the province. And time now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Barry.
Hello, Sophie.
Good evening.
Delays and cost overruns on the new Dunedin Hospital project means there are doubts whether the project will be completed to the size and scope planned, according to National List MP Michael Woodhouse. So he's commented on that today. A South Otago man who spent nearly 9 months in prison as a result of a police botch-up now wants to appeal his conviction. So we have that story. And of course we touched on it this morning, the New Zealand Golf Open. They hadn't quite made a decision in Aerotown as to whether it would go ahead or not. Well, they've made a decision and they're not going ahead. So that's been cancelled. Another victim of COVID. So we get some reaction from the Queenstown community about that decision, and of course, naturally enough, they're disappointed. Further on, the story you had earlier about the speed limits, well, the Dunedin Council appears set to back down on speed limit changes on the Otago Peninsula following public pressure. So there you go, democracy at its best. Yeah, we have a preview of the All Blacks Australia match, some sporting previews and things like that, and their lift out tomorrow, so lots of things happening.
Wonderful.
Thank
you, Barry. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, the statue of Robbie Burns in the Octagon. Looking at the situation, a rainy Friday lies ahead with warm northerly airflow bringing plenty of ex-subtropical moisture over southern districts. Cooler southwesterly airflow will arrive on Saturday with showers. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, rain with 17 degrees in Westport and 18 degrees in Greymouth. To the northeast, cloudy with showers and 19 degrees in Nelson, while it's cloudy and 22 degrees in Blenheim. In Canterbury, cloudy skies and 21 degrees in Kaikoura, mostly sunny and 23 in Christchurch and Ashburton. To the southern towns, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore can all expect moderate northerlies with rain and a high of 18 degrees along the coast and slightly warmer inland with 19. In central, it's moderate northerlies and rain for all centres, high of 17 degrees for both Queenstown and Te Anau, slightly warmer in Alexandra and Wanaka with 18 degrees. To the northern towns, along the coast, Timaru and Tuamaru can expect a moderate northeasterlies, light rain and highs of 19 and 20. Slightly cooler inland with Twizel and Marama forecast to have moderate northerlies, rain and a high of 18. In Dunedin, cloudy tonight with breezy northeasterlies and an overnight low of 11. It should be overcast tomorrow with some rain developing from mid-afternoon. Expect milder temperatures with fresh northeasterlies at first decreasing and tending northerly. Rain will start clearing tomorrow night, a high of 18 and a low of 12. Periods of rain will develop on Saturday with colder southwesterlies developing, high of 15 and a low of 9. And in Invercargill, cloudy tonight with an overnight low of 11. It will be cloudy tomorrow with rain developing during the afternoon, bringing moderate mild northerly winds, high of 19 and a low of 12. Rain will start easing to showers on Saturday with colder southwesterlies freshening and then decreasing, high of 14 and a low of 8. That's all for our news this Thursday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.